Right now, it's 95 degrees outside, and you're about to run for your car. 10 steps and you're already sweating through your shirt. Now imagine this: no AC, no fans, no ice, no shade for miles, and a sun so brutal that the ground is hot enough to cook an egg on. That wasn't a vacation, that was every day for 3,000 years. The ancient Egyptians built one of the greatest civilizations on Earth in the middle of the most unforgiving desert on the planet, and they did it without air conditioning. So how? Here's the thing you have to understand about Egypt. It's not just hot, it's relentless. In the summer, temperatures in the desert routinely pass 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The sand can reach 170, and there's almost no rain. Some parts of Egypt get less than an inch of rain a year. Now, your brain probably pictures Egyptians walking around in heavy robes, suffering in the heat. But that's wrong. Completely wrong. The truth is, they were better at handling heat than we are today. Not because they were superhuman, but because they studied the desert like a science. Every piece of clothing, every building, every daily habit, it was all designed around one enemy: the sun. And the craziest part, most of their tricks were so good we still use them today. We just don't remember where they came from. Let's start with the most obvious question. What were they wearing? You might think, long, heavy robes in the desert? How did they not overheat? Here's the twist. Egyptians wore linen, not cotton, not wool. And linen is a genius fabric for the heat. It's light, it's breathable, and it wicks moisture away from your skin. That means sweat evaporates fast, and evaporating sweat is what actually cools you down. Modern scientists have tested this. In direct desert sun, a loose linen garment can actually be cooler than wearing nothing at all, because it blocks the sun's direct rays while letting air flow through. But here's the part nobody talks about. Egyptians wore their clothes loose and white. White reflects sunlight instead of absorbing it, and loose fit creates a layer of air between the fabric and your skin, acting like insulation from the heat. It's the same reason Bedouin tribes still wear loose white robes in the desert today, a 4,000-year-old survival trick that still works. And get this, even the poorest Egyptians did this. Everyone wore linen. The rich wore finer linen, the poor wore coarser, but everyone understood. In this heat, fabric is your shield. Now, here's the weirdest one, and this is where it gets genuinely strange. Egyptians, men and women, rich and poor, shaved their heads. Why? Because in 110-degree heat, long hair traps heat against your scalp and holds sweat. A shaved head keeps you dramatically cooler. It's basic thermodynamics. But wait, they also wore wigs. Thick, heavy wigs. So what's the point of shaving your head if you're just going to cover it again? Here's the genius. A wig is portable. You wear it when you need to look respectable, for ceremonies, for work, for appearances. But the moment you're back in the shade or in private, off comes the wig and your shaved head cools down instantly. It's like having a detachable layer of heat insulation. You can take the hair off when you need to cool down. And it served a second purpose too. Wigs kept head lice at bay because you could just wash the wig and never deal with lice in your actual hair. A shaved head, a portable wig, and a built-in cooling system. 4,000 years ago. Absolute genius.
Now, what about when they went inside? Because even the shade in the desert isn't cool. So how did their homes beat the heat? The answer is mud bricks. And this is the trick modern architects are still learning. Egyptian houses were built from mud and straw dried into bricks. And here's the physics. Mud is a thermal mass. It absorbs heat slowly during the day, so the inside stays cool while the sun blazes outside. Then at night, when the desert gets freezing cold, the walls slowly release the heat they stored, keeping the house warm. It's called thermal buffering. It's the same reason ancient cave dwellers stayed comfortable. And modern green architecture is basically rediscovering what Egyptians did 5,000 years ago. But they didn't stop there. They built houses with small windows high up to let hot air rise and escape, thick walls to block the sun, and courtyards in the center where water features and plants created a microclimate. Some wealthier homes even had an early form of evaporative cooling. Wet mats were hung in doorways, so the breeze blowing through would cool the air as water evaporated. No electricity, no fans, just smart design. Your AC is doing the same thing. It's just louder and costs more money. The Egyptians didn't just build smart, They scheduled smart. In ancient Egypt, the workday started at dawn when it was cool. By the time the midday sun hit its brutal peak, roughly noon to 3 p.m., work slowed or stopped entirely. People rested, ate, stayed in the shade. It's called a siesta, and modern heatwave advice says exactly the same thing. Avoid the hottest part of the day. And then there's water. The Nile wasn't just a river, it was the lifeblood of their survival. They built irrigation canals that carried water deep into the fields. They stored it. They rationed it. They knew water was their most precious resource. But here's a strange one. Egyptians didn't always drink plain water. They brewed a weak beer, often as their daily drink. Why? Because the brewing process boiled the water, which killed bacteria. So their beer was actually a safe, drinkable water source. They didn't know about germs, but they figured out boiled water keeps you alive, 4,000 years before germ theory. Now here's the psychological genius, and it's my favorite part. Egyptians didn't fear the sun, they worshipped it. The sun god Ra was the most important deity in their pantheon. Every morning they believed Ra sailed his boat across the sky, bringing light and life. Why does that matter? Because it completely changed their relationship with the heat. Think about it. If you're terrified of the heat and hate the sun, you're fighting it every day. And stress makes heat feel worse. But if you believe the sun is a divine force giving you life, you accept it. You work with it, not against it. This is why their entire culture, their architecture, their clothes, their schedule, all worked with the desert instead of fighting it. They respected the environment so deeply that they built a civilization that thrived in it for millennia. It's a lesson that still matters today. The people who adapt to their environment survive. The ones who fight it don't. So let's put it all together. How did ancient Egyptians survive the desert heat? They wore loose white linen that cooled them instead of trapping heat. They shaved their heads and used portable wigs as detachable insulation. They built mud brick houses with thermal mass that acted like natural AC. They scheduled their days around the sun. They turned boiling water into safe drinking beer. And they worshipped the sun so deeply that they never fought it, they worked with it. Every single one of those tricks was a 4,000-year-old survival hack, and most of them still work today. The ancient Egyptians didn't just survive, they mastered it. And that's why 3,000 years later, we're still talking about them. Here's a question for you. What's the most extreme heat you've ever survived? Tell me in the comments. I want to know your own survival story. And if you want more strange, true stories from ancient history, hit subscribe, because trust me, the things our ancestors figured out will keep you surprising.